Okay, in the interest of time, my name is Ncebakazi Galada from University Walter Sisulu, which is based in the Eastern Cape. I will be facilitating our panel discussion this morning on the interface in growing the nutraceuticals and health infusion industries through IKA's-based innovations. I have quite a huge, diverse, and interesting panel. What I'll do, I'll give them just 2 to 3 minutes of introductions where they'll introduce themselves and also the institutions that they represent. Then we can perhaps initiate the discussion from that point. Perhaps we can start from my far right and then move in that order. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Program Director, representative from governments, industry, academia, students, indigenous knowledge holders, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Ashon Dlala. I'm coming from the University of Limpopo, and I've been involved in IK research, as well as R&D for product development and commercialization. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and all protocols observed. My name is Nomusa Dlamini. I'm from the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. I'm in the Advanced Agriculture and Food Cluster, and I've been involved in IKS research, especially focusing on nutraceuticals, functional foods, and all good things that give health that are associated with food. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Salmina Mokhetle. I'm from the University of Mpumalanga in Bombela. I serve as a senior lecturer in the School of Agricultural Sciences. My research focuses on medicinal plants, and I'm interested in the cultivation and conservation of medicinal plants. Thank you.
Morning, colleagues, and morning all. My name is Solomon Mabapa from the Department of Nutrition, University of Venda. I manage the IKS laboratory, and I'm interested in profiling the various plants and also gathering information from knowledge holders. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Olani Faole from the University of Johannesburg. I'm the director of the Post-Harvest and Agro-Processing Research Center. I have a SACI chair, Tier 1 on Sustainable Preservation and Agro-Processing Research. I also have another chair, the DOA ARC Research Chair on IKS in Post-Harvest Management. So in our center, or what we do, we're building systems. We're building partnerships to address the issue of post-harvest loss.
Good morning. My name is Cecilia Bester. I'm a specialist researcher at the Agriculture Research Council and based in Stellenbosch. My focus is on indigenous teas, especially the honeybush, where I focus on the breeding as well as the cultivation, and then with my colleagues on the agro-processing as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panel members, for those brief introductions. Maybe as a way of departure, if we can perhaps... If we can perhaps start with you, Dr. Dlamini. Understand that the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation has invested quite substantively in the CSRR, especially in the area of ICAS. Can you perhaps share with us in terms of all the support that you've received? What are the expertise and the capabilities that you have in terms of supporting the nutraceuticals and ICAS-based industries? And also, how have you advanced in terms of also addressing the food and nutrition challenges, not only in South Africa, but also in the continent at large?
Okay, thank you, Program Director. We thank the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology for investing so much at the CSRR. We have some of the high-end equipment, especially in terms of the GCMS. We also have freeze dryers. We also have other capabilities that you've developed over time in the advanced agriculture and food cluster, and also in the other clusters which we were collaboratively with. In terms of the capabilities and expertise that we have, we work with ICAS knowledge holders developing nutraceutical products. And in terms of product development, we're informed by the indigenous knowledge which they provide to us, and we interface this with modern science. I won't say Western science, it's modern science. So basically we converge the two sciences, indigenous knowledge sciences and modern sciences, in terms of producing products that we can demonstrate that they have health benefits and they are safe and they are stable. So we formulated various products through our capabilities, our expertise in chemistry, food science, and product development. In chemistry, we've done chemical profiling, where we've noted that some of the chemicals or compounds have different health benefits. We also have expertise in terms of evaluating in vitro biological activity, where you can actually demonstrate that the products, for example, we had a plant, Cleome, where we demonstrated that it had cancer activity. We actually used cell lines where we demonstrated their biological activity. We also have capability in terms of toxicity. You know that through our indigenous knowledge holders, we have a vast array of plants that are edible. Some will contain a bit of toxic compounds, so we have that capability as well of determining what are the toxicity levels, what can be formulated into a safe products. And the list goes on in terms of, like as I've said, we're interfacing the indigenous knowledge science and the modern sciences, and the two together, they advance innovation to tremendous levels, and we are grateful to DSTI for providing us with that. In addition, we have things like our supercritical fluid extractors, which allow us to extract the biologically active ingredients, which we now know as nutraceuticals. They're extracted from food products. We also have supercritical encapsulators, which encapsulate our bioactive ingredients. We also have ways of trying to improve the bioaccessibility. Even on display today, we have various SMMEs that we've worked with formulating their products. Remember, when you formulate a product, especially nutraceutical, you look at the extraction. Extraction is not the end, but you need to formulate. When you formulate, you have to make sure that the formulation is stable. Otherwise, the product will separate or will go bad. So we are sitting with all that expertise at the CSRR in terms of the formulation, in terms of the analysis, in terms of determining whether the products are safe and they are contain biologically active ingredients. And the ingredients are also still bioaccessible. That is, they can be absorbed into the body and they are still active. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dlamini, for that response. Maybe to just do a comparison with the ARC, Dr. Bester, are we seeing the similar support from the ARC perspective? Is there interlinkages? Is there where we complement each other? Or how do we also open doors for the academia, for the indigenous communities and local indigenous people and local communities to access our research council and be able to be supported in the sectors?
Thank you for the question. Yes, the ARC is also involved in development of MSMEs. We receive funding from the DSTI as well as from TIA that helped us to develop in the communities the necessary infrastructure and also the opportunities to give them the necessary training and bring them to make sure they understand what the business is about and how to cultivate honeybush. Also, we have used some of the funding that came through. We used to do things we still don't know, like honeybush is endemic. It's only in South Africa, so we are the only researchers in South Africa that will do and are doing research on honeybush. So ARC people can't do everything. We are only a few people, so we have linked up with universities, and with the help of the universities, several students also graduated through us, masters and PhD, and they were working on the genetic side, on the biology of the honeybush, the cultivation trials, where we look at drought stress, the effect of drought stress and fertilizers, and on the agro-processing side, we look at the tasting of the tea, chemical compounds, the polyphenols, etc. And then with the MRC, we combined and we looked at the health properties, where they tested for anti-cancer, anti-diabetic, and we know honeybush is high in antioxidants and caffeine-free. So there are many health properties that are there. And then from the IKS side, the honeybush belongs to the Khoisan. And in 2025, the industry has signed access and benefit sharing with the Khoisan. So that makes our life easier, so we can work in the communities without worries and have to do the necessary ABS negotiations. Then also what we have done in the ARC is the processing. The processing currently used in the industry was developed by the ARC, but that is for large amounts of honeybush, where we look to 2 to 4 ton and a processing time of 48 hours. So with the funding from the STI, a new processing protocol was developed, and this processing protocol, you can process small quantities from up to 100 kilogram, which only take 2 to 3 hours to process. So it makes it much easier, especially for the MSMEs and also the wild harvesters, that they can process their small quantities, and it's not dependent on the big processors who only take at certain times of the year material, and then they can't deliver at that specific times. So we are involved in the whole value chain, where we use universities, students, and other councils, research councils to assist us to make sure that the honeybush industry can grow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bester. We can clap hands. I think this one, maybe before I can hand over to the floor to my academic partners, given that primarily academic institutions are new knowledge generators, so we have a responsibility to develop skills, not only for the graduates, but also to transfer that to the communities that we serviced. How has that journey been in this sector? Often universities are accused that their doors are closed, they work in silos, the time it takes for R&D to reach to market is too long, and the SMMEs cannot afford your services or can't even access the facilities at universities. How is the scenario in your respective institution, and any success stories that you can perhaps highlight, and maybe any challenges? Obviously, I know there are regulatory issues involved, there are compliance issues with the IK-related acts. How has been that journey for you? We can perhaps start with you, Prof.
Thank you very much. It's been a variable journey for us with successes and challenges here and there. So we work on the entire spectrum of these crops, both the food and the medicinal plants. We call them functional food and medicinal plants, or generally underutilized and traditional medicinal plants. So we've had a program working on these crops since the early 2000s, really, which started initially by just identification. Which crops are there, what is their potential, looking at the agronomic aspects, how can we produce them commercially, what would be the requirements to produce them, prioritization, then looking at them from a drought tolerance, heat stress tolerance, and then the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical potential. And we came up with a list of about 16 priority crops for South Africa according to this criteria that we looked at. And through that time, we've also done climate change impact assessment for these crops to look at whether they'll be able to perform under climate change and the areas in which they'll be able to perform, whether those areas overlap with areas where we've got the rural areas and so forth, so that we would know that they can actually be targeted for production in rural areas, and we can bring on board people in rural areas into those kind of businesses. And a lot of that early research was funded by the Water Research Commission of South Africa. And then at the stage when we felt confident that we know enough to proceed with commercialization, we got into partnership with the DSTI, TIA, as well as the Small Enterprise Development Finance Agency. And we have launched an incubator called Hluma Rapid Incubator, where we are now actually driving a commercialization agenda across the entire value chain. And we are bringing in people from rural areas, youth and women in particular, to be involved in all aspects of the value chain. So some will be doing primary production, some will be doing, the post-harvest handling and storage, some will be doing product development, marketing. We've got an incubation facility that we've set up where we are training them in terms of enterprise development, startup development, how to run a business, how to manage a business. We've got a lab that is also set up where we are doing product discovery research. How do we, develop products and all of those things. We've also entered into a partnership with the Biotechnology Innovation Research Council in India, BIRAC, so that we can also learn, because the Indians have progressed a lot in this area. And I'm happy to say we've already had 2 technical visits where we've sent our people to India to facilitate such learning. And we've identified small agro-processing technologies that we would want them to bring into South Africa so that we can, encourage startups and so forth. So we've had a lot of progress in that regard. There are challenges elsewhere in that for a lot of these crops, most of them are still harvested from the wild. And whilst we know how to produce them and how to propagate them, we still need to advance the propagation so that we discourage harvesting from the wild and can actually have sufficient production to make the commercial aspects viable and sensible. There are still bottlenecks there in terms of where we need to develop and register seeds. We've struggled because there are no criteria or gazetted standards for how to register a variety for some of these crops and so forth. We do welcome the recent gazette by the Minister of Agriculture, which came out last year, which then categorized them as commodity crops, because that also changes the playing field significantly in terms of the level of support they can now receive formally from state institutions, which then unlocks the bottlenecks to seed production, which was a major hurdle. So that's the biggest barrier we've had, which was regulatory. There are also other regulatory barriers that exist in terms of product registration, quality standards, and so forth, because there are very few, or at least no criteria that have been, gazetted for these sort of crops and so forth. So we are hoping that through partners, as the scientific councils that are here, that they can also advance those other aspects whilst we advance the technology and innovation aspects of it. Thank you.
I think before, thank you. I think the next panel member can respond. I like how you map up the interface between academia, research council, the state, even the BRICS partners. And in terms of the communities, what is their role in that space? Do you journey them along? The services you provide, are they freely available? Are they, especially with the incubator, I know often there's that expectation that incubators should offer free services, which doesn't often work out like that way. How do communities or indigenous knowledge holders benefit through all those support instruments?
Okay, so our system is decentralized in the sense that a lot of the infrastructure that we've developed is actually set up in rural areas. So the production, the solar-based irrigation that we've been piloting for production, it's in a rural area. We've set up pack houses in rural areas. We've supported communities to form cooperatives, primary, secondary, and tertiary cooperatives. We've supported youth, again, in rural areas to be part of these sort of cooperatives and to get into production. So our work is really community-based at that level. At the university, we have employed what we call community liaison officers, whose work is just to go into communities, engage with communities, and support them. The incubator has recruited or appointed about 30 incubators, all of whom are coming from the rural areas. Because our incubator is funded through a partnership from DSTI, TIA, and SEDFA, the services it offers are free. So they do not have to pay for the services of the incubator.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Program Director. Firstly, I would like to start by acknowledging and thanking the DSTI for their visionary support of indigenous knowledge-based bioinnovations. I must attest that their support has enabled institutions like mine, the University of Limpopo, and many of our partners to do the work that we are doing in terms of understanding indigenous knowledge systems, as well as research into indigenous plants, profiling them, coming up with value-added products from them. But most importantly is that they've also organized us into what are called consortiums. So that breaks away the issue of institutions working in silos. So we work with different universities, with science councils as well, and indigenous knowledge holders and communities all together as consortiums. And we then identify issues that has to do with nutraceuticals, or other consortiums that deal with other issues like your medicinal plants. And we try to cover the whole value chain in terms of understanding the cultivation, understanding the crop production. We have come up with technologies that are interfaced between indigenous knowledge and scientific ways of doing things to come up with more resilient plants that has got more nutrients or more functionality in the plant when we talk of food as medicines. And their support has also enabled us to build that capacity through student training, as well as impacting on young generations, the knowledge that our elders have from the indigenous knowledge side, as well as from the scientific side. And it has gone a long way in assisting us to come up with products that are ready for the market. Be that as it may, having a product and having a profile or evidence that they work is not enough. So what we have done now is to adopt a research to market commercialization model where we have partnered with business accelerators as well as industries to try and take those products right into the market. So, and there are so many success stories that just come out of that that program. Most of the exhibitors that are here, they now have products that are on the shelf, and we are really grateful for that initiative. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our journey from the University of Mpumalanga, it's a developing and growing one. We are a decade into this research, but we are growing. The research that University of Mpumalanga conduct is deeply rooted in the aspects of food systems, medicinal plants, and horticulture. We utilize our expertise to support communities, mainly because of the huge biodiversity that is experienced in Mbombela as compared to the other provinces. The biodiversity that has not been tapped into. So we find ourselves doing so much research on different plants. We are a university that creates opportunities. As much as we have not received much funding, we create opportunities, and we're excited that we have a new Sachi chair in sustainable and resilient food systems that will be starting at the University of Mpumalanga, and it will be led by Professor Lembe Magwaza, showing one of the ways that we create opportunities for ourselves. In addition to that, we have the Center for Entrepreneurship and Rapid Incubator that is stationed at the University of Mpumalanga, giving opportunities to our students and community knowledge holders. A good example is a candidate that is here today, Senorita Chauke, a master's candidate who worked on nutraceuticals and utilized her research to open her own business, and she's proceeding with it. Congratulations, Senorita. As this journey is growing, we are looking into collaborating with other institutions. We are looking into working together to do more research in nutraceuticals, in medicinal plants, and support our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Our journey started in 2011 at the University of Vietnam when I joined the nutraceutical platform, and thanks to the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation for funding us. They gave us money to establish a lab, and I must say the lab is equipped with high-end equipment. And in 2025, they gave us additional money to purchase more machines. And I want to take you through the capabilities of our facility. It has got 4 key capabilities as we speak. The first one is knowledge preservation. If you heard yesterday, Professor Netswera told us that the indigenous knowledge is fading away. So what we are trying to do by preserving this knowledge is we go into the knowledge holders and we document whatever they tell us, and we archive that information and to safeguard it for future generations. And then the second key capability of our facility is Innovation Hub. So with the Innovation Hub, our facility is providing a space where a collaboration between scientists, knowledge holders, and innovators co-create solutions that blends indigenous knowledge practices with modern science. And then the third key capability is capacity building. And MIFA project members are examples or beneficiaries of this. With capacity building, we are training communities, we are mentoring communities. MIFA is producing jam from marula fruits, and to produce jam of high quality, you need to adhere to the high standards of HACCP. And we trained the project members on HACCP, and we also provided them other training on finance and also bookkeeping. And then the last one is a technology integration. This is where we use our high-end equipment to profile the plants that the knowledge holders told us about, the plants with health claims. We profile them, and we tell the knowledge holders that you said if you consume blackjack, for instance, you can lower your BP. So we tell them what is in the plant that is lowering the BP. By the way, I am a physiologist by background, so don't just tell me that this plant contains phytochemicals. You need to tell me which phytochemical is that, and then its modus operandi or mode of action when it gets inside the body. And then the other thing that we do is we go to communities, we promote the consumption of indigenous foods. Surely this room will agree with me that youth does not consume indigenous fruits and vegetables. So one of my colleagues conducted a study, and the findings of a study was that there is a bit of knowledge from the youth, and the problem now is the consumption is very low. So he did with, in his PhD, they infused some of the indigenous vegetable in the NSNP, and then the learners loved it. And then the other thing that she found was that when you give these learners a dish of indigenous vegetable, they do not consume it. But once you infuse it in other food items, then they consume it. And I think I should pause on that because I've got a lot. I can talk the whole day about this. Thank you.
And from you, Jay?
Yes, thank you very much. Our journey started in 2019 when I joined UJ, University of Johannesburg. It started with just one person then, and now we are 52 members in the group in the Post-Harvest and Agro-Processing Research Center. We have been quite successful when it comes to food loss and waste reduction, and we take three approaches to this. We believe that because we work on horticultural, indigenous, and medicinal food crops, we believe that if we cannot keep them fresh, well, we need to keep them fresh for as long as possible so that they can reach the consumer. And that's what we apply technology in post-harvest preservation. But then we asked another question: if we cannot keep them fresh, then we need to stabilize them through agro-processing. And that's where we apply innovative agro-processing technologies. You will see our stand there. We actually develop products because that's part of our DNA. We believe that research must result in product, tangible product that you can bank on and that can actually show the industry or the enterprises that research is not just about publication. And the third thing that we believe in, whatever waste you generate, how can you valorize the waste? We believe that even though the commodities are probably not marketable, they are rich in bioactives. You can look into extraction of polyphenols, flavors, cellulose, there's so many things. So the concept of waste is how you see the raw material itself. So we see all the biomasses as an input for another production. So one thing that is unique about us is we're also futuristic in our approach. We apply AI-enhanced optimization of our agro-processing systems. We apply encapsulation systems, smart delivery systems, smart packaging, and in fact, we are now developing a model for traceability in a way that you can actually be able to use your smartphone to detect adulteration and this is some of the technology that can help small enterprises. We've enjoyed a lot of support from the industry and also from the government, especially the DST High. And the recent one was the one we received that supported the conference we hosted in March, Beverage Crops. And one thing that was clear at that conference was that the ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem in the country is growing. And it's high time that IK is fused with this ecosystem in addition to the biodiversity that we have in order for us to be competitive in the global stage. So I will leave it at that point, but we work a lot with the industry. If I may just cite one example, because we are very vocal on social media, and this encourages small enterprises to come to us. One lady called Intertise came to us last year. She told us that she cured herself of colon cancer, and she would like to promote her product. It's a mixture of herbs, mixture of vegetables, wild vegetables and all that. But she was so limited in terms of how to dry the materials and also how to meet the quality standards. And we were able to assist. And now she's been able to, find her feet in terms of looking for investment and support that can actually help her scale. I will stop on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, panel members. We still have a little bit of time. Let me perhaps take one or two questions from the floor before we can advance the discussion further. Any burning questions, or it's only my show? Okay, there's a hand at the back. And this side, any question? Okay, let's take that one hand.
Good morning once more. My name is Ernest Chawuyo from Pilisanang Technology. I heard Prof. Ndala, he was touching on something which is intriguing for us. I like to call ourselves veterans in this DTSI consortium. When it touched base on the other retailers that are also having our product in their shelf. But it's a pity that I missed from the policy makers on the previous panel, because I wanted to pose similar things that Prof. Ndala just touched base on. I think this platform going forward will be happy. Both of us that were the status of this platform of DSI consortiums, if in this type of conversion you can also brought in people at the high rank of the Pick and Pay your food lovers, your ShopRite. Reason for that is that I quite believe and convinced that the DSI platform, they've done much to us because our product have been validated. By the way, I'm from the nutraceutical sector, if I'm to put into that context. By inviting such people such as Pick and Pay, I believe they do have a space where they can accommodate us. Where as a result, in order for them to assist us, they can also give us the funding so that we can penetrate fully into that market space. So that is a little contribution that I want to make. Getting to an aging stage, I'll be happy if I can say once I penetrate such market, I can be happy to go in pension, a very happy person, so that I can then hand over to the youth. And then we can then use such achievement from the previous or initiator to be used to be a motivator to the student. Once more, I'm also very much happy to see now fully fledged participant from the postgraduate students that are coming from the very same university that have tested our project. Thank you.
Thank you, Ndate. I'm also hoping that you are transferring your knowledge to the younger generation so that when you retire, they also remain and continue with your legacy. I think there's a hand next to you.
Yes, thank you very much. Quick question to, I think it was Dr. Solomoni from Univen. My name is Kumbuzo Tembe from Western Cape. I'm working for the Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning. I must say that the session is very informative, it's very much appreciated. And I think there's no question that IK is the thing. But my question to Dr. Solomoni, you mentioned 4 capabilities, as you call it, which is very, very critical. And you mentioned, I think that was capability number 1, that you are engaging with the key IK, holders. Now, I want to know what is it that the university does to ensure that we do not just engage with the IK holders just for documentation and the preservation of information, but also ensuring that there is that transformation and they are part of this economy. Not that I'm against with the production of a lot of PhDs and master's students. I'm one of them, by the way. But I mean, we need to shift the focus. It should be not doing things for them, but doing things with them that will benefit them, which is, anyway, all of us. Thank you so much.
For that question, in ethics, when you do research and as a researcher you're the only one who benefits, then you are wrong. What we are doing is unethical. So your participants must always benefit from your research. So what we do with the knowledge holders, we work in collaboration with the Department of Food Science at the University of Venda. After profiling, then we go to them, we ask if a product can be developed from whatever the knowledge holders told us about. And if there's hope, then we bring the knowledge holders on board, and then we tell them that there's a possibility that you can develop a product and sustain yourself from that development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panel members. Maybe as we head towards our wrapping up, I think there's a general consensus that there's adequate support, not only from government, but also from the private sector. But I want to get a sense from you or your perspective in terms of, can you confidently say that the nutraceuticals and health infusion industries can contribute significantly to the challenge we have of unemployment, specifically for the graduates? Because it's good that I think our panel is dominated by academia. We have quite alarming statistics of unemployed graduates. Can you confidently say that with the capabilities and expertise that we have and the community integration that we have with the incubators, can this industry contribute to absorb or to contribute to job creation? And do we have sufficient market and even capabilities to supply that market? In no particular order, I don't know who wants to go first.
Okay. So the answer is a measured yes. I think we should say yes with caution so that we don't lose focus. There is a lot of potential in these crops, but that potential still needs to be realized. So there's still a need to invest in the RDI aspects, because there's still a lot that we don't know in terms of the discovery science, the product development aspects and so forth, which is actually where the business opportunities then come out of. They are spun out of the innovation aspects. There's still a huge need for regulatory support. Right now, the support that has been coming through is funding support, interest support, but the regulatory environment, like I said, most of us have been working on these crops for a decade or so, but it was only last year when the minister issued a statutory instrument recognizing them. Meaning the whole time, government was funding us and all of these things, but they were not recognizing them formally, which means the regulatory environment was not playing a supportive role. So we need to get our policy situation coherent and aligning and creating an enabling environment for all of this to happen. We need private sector support, because private sector has the funds to invest. So it's not just government. Government's role is policy and enabling environment. Private sector can fund the innovation. Private sector can commercialize innovations. We need private sector and government to enter into public-private partnerships, because it is through those kind of partnerships that we can bring development to the rural areas and absorb large numbers of young people who are unemployed in rural areas and so forth. We need the media and people involved in that space to contribute to awareness building, because we need to change the narrative around all of these crops. We need to shift them from being perceived as opportunity, as backward, traditional, and all of those things, to just being understood as part of the mainstream diversification of things. So that is where the market is. So we need to change consumer behavior, and that requires a lot of awareness building. It also requires Department of Education to come in and play a role in terms of supporting education in schools, integrating them into the school feeding nutrition programs. So it's a whole of government, it's a whole of society approach that is needed. So that's why I'm saying it's a measured yes, because there are still a lot of enablers that we need to activate before we realize the full potential. Thank you.
I think maybe in that order.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think from my side as well, it's a yes, because from our institution, or speaking about our research group, we have started to design our PhD and MSc research projects in such a way that at the end of their graduation, they don't only graduate with a thesis, but they also come up with a product. And they can actually be using that product to start income generation on their own. And if successful, can actually also create jobs along it. Thank you.
Okay, from my side, it's also a yes. And And our product, being a nutraceutical, it is not subject to as much regulatory restrictions as medicinal products. So I can say that at CSIR, we actually sit at a very comfortable position between the academia, research, and industry, which is market access, as well as regulatory compliance. What I can say, maybe I can try and address some of the issues in terms of access to markets, in terms of where SMMEs are sitting, because SMMEs are some of the major potential contributors to job creation because they are growing. And some of the aspects which they've mentioned which limit their access to markets, because if you have access to markets, then you can sell your product. If you can sell your product, then you produce more and you create jobs along the value chain from all the way from cultivation, whether it's harvesting to processing to selling. So they say some of the restrictions are regulatory compliance. And as I've said, in terms of nutraceuticals, we do not have as much regulatory restrictions, but in terms of, if you are going to put a food product on the market, you have to demonstrate that it is produced in an accredited facility, it is safely produced, the person who's produced the food product has handled it hygienically. When I say food product, I mean, I go all the way to supplements, to nutraceutical, to our functional ingredients. We have various beverages and various teas that have been produced. So at CSIR, what we do technology transfer where we make them aware of the various technologies they can use to process. We also create an environment where they can even access accredited facilities where they can now demonstrate that their product, although it's been produced in the kitchen initially, now they've upgraded it or they've upscaled it to an accredited facility. For some of them, we even look at how their current facilities can be improved so that they can meet the market needs. Yesterday, you met Retang, who was talking about how they got funding to improve their facility so that it is compliant. In some instances, at CSIR, we even have a facility where we can even assist them. We have acquired some new technologies where we can assist them in terms of pilot processing and transferring that knowledge. And also through agri-hubs and agri-parks, where we are partnering with TIA, where SMMEs can also go and process their products. Thank you.
Just on that point, Doc, on the accreditation, we understand that CSIR is one of the well-equipped facility, and now given the support we need at different provinces, how then institutions, for example, are not in Gauteng, can also tap into those expertise, and are you able to provide that remote support and ensure, for example, an incubator in Limpopo can have an accredited lab, or in Mpumalanga or elsewhere?
So basically our approach is to provide even remote support. And as I've mentioned, we work collaboratively with universities where we can provide that support in terms of accreditation of your facilities. For example, in one of the projects, sorry, I'm saying for example, in one of the projects where I worked with a team of female bakers in Limpopo. Their bakery wasn't accredited, but we got to a point through visiting the facility, through holding their hands, they got to a point where they got the basic food safety standard, which is a certificate of acceptability, because you cannot put your products, you cannot trade without COA, and there is higher certification that you can go for example, HACCP, which where now you want to access even higher markets. But to access basic markets, you have to prove that your product is produced in a safe facility. So yes, the answer is yes, we can work collaboratively.
Thanks, Doc.
I also want to indicate that my answer is yes. There is huge potential for nutraceuticals. And I look at the model of the University of Mpumalanga, where they have Seferi, Center for Entrepreneurship and Rapid Incubator. That makes it easier for the research that is conducted by Senorita at her master's level to the point where she's able to have her own business. They support her with training, they support her with, perfecting the innovation that she has. And the beautiful thing also about the University of Mpumalanga is that while the research is done in the laboratory, we also have a hotel, a kitchen. And how I imagine it, I imagine the products that are developed from Sinorita's startup, supporting some of the activities that are happening in our hotel at the University of Mpumalanga. So definitely a yes for me. Thank you.
My answer is also yes. And the University of Limpopo and University of Mpumalanga, UNIVEN also funds masters and PhD students who are doing IKS and can develop products. So if you are doing masters and you can develop a product, the research office can fund your product, and how to market your product, then you can be referred to Prof. Nechandama, who's here, who can assist with the entrepreneurship stuff. And there are also VC and research awards. So the person who, the student who developed a product can also get more funding through these awards. And that is encouraging students to go the direction of product development, and that will count towards their sustainability. Thank you.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Also a yes for me, and of course we talk about partnerships that Prof. Tavaswa mentioned, but I think it goes beyond that as well. I mean, if we look at the potential, we're talking about the biodiversity, rich biodiversity, we're talking about the IK system that is very, very strong, that is difficult to compete with globally. And the fact that we have an ecosystem of innovation that is evolving, and that's why we have this platform talking about the innovation that can come out of, tapping into these resources. And we have consumers that are now becoming more aware of health, or also the use of nature-based solutions and indigenous solutions. But we need to think beyond products. I think it's important that we see what we are trying to develop as a driver, and a driver for multiple application or purposes, driver for food, for health, for job creation, for industrialization, and in a way that we can then have a mindset of, we are not only developing this product for enterprises, but in a way that they can evolve into industries. I think that's how we can actualize the goal of economic transformation and growth of the country. We talk about market. Of course, markets, we need to unlock market opportunities, but we have the AFTA on the African continent that is supposed to generate $4.3 trillion for 1.4 billion people on the continent. What are we doing with that? Are we tapping into that opportunity? And how are we positioning ourselves, even here in South Africa, in a way that we are competitive enough, and that we are not always driven by, we want to ship our product to the global north, but also amongst the African continent. It's very, very important that we tap into the market opportunities on the continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, my answer is also yes for the students. Our projects are around either supporting the industry or the communities, and as well how to cultivate all these aspects. If it wasn't for the students, we couldn't get in such a quick time all the answers we need. And also on the health benefits and the quality standards for the honeybush, which is implemented in the industry. So the students played a huge role there, and I can tell gladly more than 20 plus students went through our projects, and they all are employed somewhere in the industries, which is also a good thing. And yes, in the communities and the industries, we are in health, infusion industries is quite competitive because we have a huge, from China, there's a lot of different teas or infusions. And also in South Africa, we know rooibos quite well, but I mean, if you have been down here, you will see there's a lot of other teas and that also is available in South Africa, and there's still some that is not yet here, which is also still available to be exploited. So, yes, so on the health infusions, I think one of our biggest challenges is marketing, and we all sit here as researchers, even if they are in academia, they still is researchers. We are not marketers. Most of us, you may find here and there, one that have that skills, we are not marketers, and I think that is where currently the biggest challenge is, and that's why we still struggle with some of the SMMEs to get through is to get the marketing, and I think that is where we need the link at this moment. Thank you.
Before you hand over, Doc, as we give maybe our concluding remarks, can you confidently say you've arrived? The support you've received, you think you can be self-sustaining or self-sustainable, or there's a need for more support? Or in terms of how, now that we've narrated that the gaps that we have in the sector, what other support do you think you need to ensure that government and private sector enables you even more to build the industry and for the industry to be sustainable?
I think currently, especially on our MSMEs, is a processing plant. We have 4 honeybush MSMEs. 3 are based in the Tsitsikamma. There is no processing plant. And if we can roll out this new processing protocol we have developed, it will make a huge difference in that area, and especially to wild harvesters or small-scale farmers. So that will be huge. And we talk about 10 million, so it sounds much, but it is not much for a processing plant, and that will make and create more jobs in that rural areas. And then the biggest challenge is if we can get money for clinical trials so that we can go through with honeybush all that health properties, or at least one, that we can put it on the map and say, yes, honeybush is helping for this specific disease or help with preventing it. It will make a huge difference. Thank you.
We have made a significant progress, and we know that the next step is for us to have a hub, future innovation hub where we can, be futuristic and apply high-level competitive technologies. We're talking about AI, enhanced optimization of processes and all that. So we haven't arrived. We actually partnered because one of our core mandates is to develop partnerships with all sectors, including the government. We know that we can have a model as a university in which SMMEs can actually thrive. We are not saying we're going to do it for free for them, but it's going to be a space where we can both co-curate and innovate a product. We want a platform where we can share stories of the indigenous resources that we have and the products that are coming from them, not only by us talking about them, but have a digital platform, maybe a QR code, even that would lead you to where the commodities, the crops are being produced and all that. So I think it's important for us to, if we want to compete on the global stage, we should up our game and be futuristic in our approach. Thank you very much.
For us, I think we haven't arrived. We've arrived partially, but we still need funding. The funding, we need it for running clinical trials to test the efficacy and the safety of the indigenous vegetables and fruits that the knowledge holders told us about, that they have health claims. And I think we will get there at some point through more funding. Thank you.
I hope the investors are listening and taking notes.
From the University of Mpumalanga, we are still on a journey. We have not arrived. We welcome collaboration from DSTI. We welcome collaborations from other universities of higher learning and science councils. We are looking for support in terms of funding our Safari, which is the incubator, so that it can be able to support the innovators around Mbombela. We are also looking for support in terms of conducting research on the huge biodiversity of medicinal plants and indigenous fruit species that we have in the province. Yes, we have acquired the UHPLC mass spectrometry as a way of creating opportunities, but we are looking to acquire more equipment because the institution is growing rapidly. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for that. From the CSR side, what we would like to do is to amplify the growth of industries. Looking at the SMMEs that we've worked with, already we have good news. We have Setong right there at the back. We have Prijab who are sitting here yesterday. We also have more Nutri, and we've also got several who are not even here with us. But if you go to our CSR stand, you will see the SMMEs that we've worked with. So basically, although they are now standalone SMMEs, they will need assistance here and there. For example, cost of analysis is quite expensive. We wish we can help them. We hold their hands as much as we can. Access to processing equipment, we still assist them with that. And also the dream for us is to see self-sustainable or self-sustaining SMMEs who will even approach the CSR or approach other universities for assistance, and they pay for their services. And I'm not saying that is not yet happening right now. Right now, we've had some SMMEs who've come to us wanting us to develop products, to refine their products, and they've actually paid. They've looked for ways of sourcing funding. So that's what we want to see, industry emerging from our SMMEs. And we don't just call them SMMEs for nothing. They are industries. CSR is a research organization. We will always need funding, of course. And so we're also looking at how then, the industries that we are developing can also support the CSR in terms of putting innovations out there in the market, supporting young entrepreneurs in terms of incubation. And I've heard good news all throughout that our universities are actually moving ahead with developing graduates, developing products with them, putting them. Yes, I think Dr. Bester mentioned that we are not marketeers, but we should understand our markets. Thank you very much.
And there I thought you'll say we've arrived.
With innovation, you don't totally arrive. You keep innovating. But we arrive in some aspects. For example, like we have products where we have arrived, and I'm hoping that our small industries or emerging industries will be self-sustaining. And once they're self-sustaining, then we have arrived. Thank you.
Great.
And we thank the DSTI for all the support that they've given to us over the years. Actually, there is one mention that I want to make, is that with some of the equipment, especially the GCMS, which is high-end, is advanced, we have managed to tap into the policy issues, regulatory compliance, because now we can analyze all these emerging toxins. You know, science is a growing field, it doesn't stop now, but there is more that we keep discovering. Like what we knew 60 years ago is not what we know now. Now we know a little bit more. So with that equipment, we can keep abreast of all the research and all the innovations. And thank you, DSTI, for that equipment. Thank you.
From the University of Limpopo side, I think we are just getting onto the interface of starting to build bigger impact in terms of what we do as an institution. So we still really need a lot of funding. We're just trying to build an analytical and small-scale manufacturing hub that will try to service not only the province but nationwide, so that we position ourselves as leaders in nutraceutical research. And also, we are trying, because we are constantly, as a world, we are constantly facing things like climate change. So we are starting to reimagine our food systems. So this is just the interface of all the research that we are doing. So yeah, but TSI is doing a lot in terms of assisting us, but we also welcome funding from any other funding organization, TIA and others. So yeah, thank you.
A round of applause for DSTI.
Thank you very much. So I'll start with my colleagues here to say, you know, I know some of you and I don't know some of you, but today I've learned a lot in terms of what is happening out there, the progress that has been made in so many aspects. But it has also shocked me in terms of what I didn't know, being a person working in the same space, and the fragmentation that we have amongst ourselves. And I think, so my first request would be for us to work together, you know, more intentionally and more purposefully. If we combine our different capabilities and expertise, I think we can arrive faster or sooner than we would arrive individually. So I think there's a need for us to, you know, convene, brainstorm, figure out how do we coordinate amongst ourselves. In terms of investments, that I was just listening to everyone's needs, and I'm thinking that we could have a model where not everyone needs to do everything, but we could have sort of like, you know, hubs, innovation hubs that specialize. But if we are working together, I know I can send my samples to Ola for, you know, specific analysis. I know I can send certain things to Salmina for, you know, certain type analysis. I can send my other samples to CSIR. I don't need to own a GCMS myself. You know, if they have it, I can focus on advancing other areas. If she needs support with biodiversity analysis and so forth, she can come and see me, and we can support and complement each other. And if we coordinate that across ourselves, I think we can move and accelerate the progress more meaningfully. Where support might be needed then is in how do we build that model of collaboration and those focused innovation hubs that then bring the institutional excellence into play and share capabilities. How do we scale the existing solutions? Because part of innovation is scaling. And a lot of us, we are still at the piloting stage. So we need to scale the solutions. So we need support in terms of scaling, and that's where government and industry can support us in terms of scaling. And then we also need to have more meaningful investment in terms of the enterprise development. We've got the incubators, they play a role, but again, they are very focused within the specific regions that they're operating in, at either the district or provincial level. So how do we scale that again into a national program of scaling solutions and, you know, translating the research that is being done into marketable solutions at a national scale? And then how do we then move from the national, which is South Africa, to the sub-region, to the continental? Ola mentioned the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. How do we leverage those? How then does the Department of Trade and so forth come in to open up that huge African market so that whatever is being done here is feeding also into that market? So I think that's where I would see, the areas of support coming in to assist us. Not just myself, but all of us.